Thank you.
So, if you haven't met Lisa McGuire, she is on our lifelong learning committee. She helps get a lot of our speakers true asset to what we do. She's going to facilitate our conversation with Dr. Ursula Lentini, who I also know. They're both awesome. But Lisa's not only a Kettering member, she's a speaker, strategic identity advisor, personal brand strategist, host of Your Passion, Purpose, and Personal Brand, a globally ranked top 5% weekly podcast with more than 230 episodes. Through her work, Lisa is known as guiding conversations that move beyond surface level talking points and into the deeper patterns, turning points, and lived wisdom beyond a person's experience. Today, she brings the interview style to Kettering, helping us explore Ursula's work, I know, through a thoughtful, practical, and leadership-focused conversation. Please join me in welcoming Lisa.
All right. So this might be a little bit different experience for many of you who have not been sitting in my podcast studio in the terrace level of my home with 5 doors surrounding it into storage rooms. So I'm going to take you inside of that today. One thing that happens is I do have notes during the podcast because I like to take our listeners on a journey. So today I will be referencing some of my notes to make sure that we don't miss any of the tidbits. So it is my honor and pleasure to introduce you to our guest today, Dr. Ursula Lentini. I know she is a friend and a colleague for many of you here. She is a leadership advisor whose work helps high-performing professionals address the root causes of stress, overfunctioning, emotional exhaustion, and internal friction. Does that sound familiar to anyone right there? Okay. She has more than 20 years of experience and over 6,400 private sessions. A lot. And she brings this deep understanding of the hidden patterns that influence leadership behavior, decision-making, communication, trust, and resilience. What makes her work so powerful is that she goes beyond the visible behaviors of leadership. She helps people understand the internal openings or operating system that shapes how we respond to pressure, conflict, responsibility, and change. We are here today to celebrate. She was featured recently in CEO World magazine, which is quite an accomplishment. She offers practical and grounded perspective for senior leaders who want to lead with clarity, emotional steadiness, self-awareness, in demanding environments. And that's what I want to explore today with Ursula, because many of you in this room are accomplished. You've led teams, built careers, carried responsibility, and made hard decisions. But one of the things I want us to look at today is this. What if leadership is not only shaped by what we know, what we've achieved, or what strategy we use? What if it's also shaped by what's happening underneath the operating system? So today we're going to explore the hidden operating system of leadership and what becomes possible when leaders begin moving from reaction to awareness. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Ursula Lentini. Right.
Thank you, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's going to be fun.
Yes.
All right. No hecklers, please. Okay.
Bring them on.
Okay, so Ursula, I want to start with something that I think many people in this room will recognize immediately. The CEO World article about you mentioned that many high-performing individuals still feel emotionally exhausted despite all of our external success. And that line stopped me because I think so many capable leaders know how to keep functioning, keep delivering, keep showing up, and keep being counted on, even when internally we are running on fumes. So my first question, you get to talk now, is when you talk about emotional exhaustion in high-performing people, what does that actually look like? And why does it happen, especially in people who appear successful, capable, and composed from the outside?
We all know the duck gliding across the lake on a sunny afternoon, sun shining, everything's looking beautiful, heavenly. And what's going on underneath the surface? Yeah, he's paddling like a Kettering crusher going on a 5K. So when we push, that's why executives become executives. And they're not your neighbors and your friends and the kids you went to school with, because they push. That's how they got there. That's how they've achieved so many things. But in my world, I'm asking, why are you pushing so hard? It's nice that you're at the pinnacle, at the very top of that triangle, stuck in the corner in the executive corporate office. How's it feel up there? Because it's not always the promise that was given, like go, 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 you'll be happy. There's not happiness up there. There's just a lot of pride, a lot of accomplishment, things on the wall that says you're a fantastic person. But the self-esteem is not always there. So we push. Maybe I'll just get it a little bit. If I push a little harder, if I have this perfect everything, then I'll feel better. So many executives have that in the background, pushing.
Yeah. And I think that's an important distinction, because we look like we've got our act together, and we don't want to let people know that maybe we don't. Or do we? All right. So internally, we're running on these fumes. And I would venture to say we have a lot of high-performing people in this room. Anyone want to identify as high-performing? So why do capable people often normalize stress, overfunctioning, emotional pressure as just this is part of leadership?
So we did the Kettering Crusher recently, and there were runners and there were walkers. And the runners are identified as the pushers, if you think about it, right? And then the walkers are like, we're all going to get to the finish line. Nobody's timing me. This isn't the Olympics. We're on a fundraiser. So the walkers have an ability to just relax and enjoy that scene, have a conversation. The runners cannot have a conversation. They can't connect. So they're connecting with the watch. They're connecting with like who was the guy. So there's a lot of stress that the runners have, and the walkers are not experiencing that stress at all. So we can look at, am I running or am I stressing? And stressing, or am I walking? Am I relaxing? Again, the executives are the runners of the world. They're stressing themselves out and they're going. So that's normal, because you started that when you were 10. Katie brought up her 9-year-old. Yeah, that's who's driving the show. Many of us are actually being driven by our 3 and 4-year-old selves. We have no idea. So at 3 and 4, we're born, and then we're in this like blissful state of oneness, and everybody's connected, and there's a lot of love and a lot of attention, and you're just having body functions and everybody's excited. So it's just this pleasure of being alive. And then at 2, the brain starts coming online and says, oh, wait a minute, we're separate, and my needs aren't being met, and somebody else is doing something else, and I don't really like this program. That's why they call it the terrible twos, because our brain is starting to understand separation rather than heavenly connection and harmony and peace and love. So then by 3 and 4, we start calculating like, okay, what do I need to do in order to get my needs met? Not preferences, needs. Feeling accomplished, feeling loved, feeling accepted, sense of belonging. So I don't know where this all comes from, but we all seem to have not good enough running in the background. So the pushers of the world are like, not good enough. I'll show you. Mm-hmm. Many of these executives have fathers who were there, but not there. They did not show up at the games. They did not help with the homework. You never got an, I love you, son. I just love you. So those are the things that this 3 and 4-year-old brain is like, oh, well, I'm just going to have to prove my value. I'm going to have to prove my wealth. So they drive. They get the A's, they get the thing. They're the best player, they're the best. And then that's what happens. They just keep going. Yes, it's exhausting, but it's a lifestyle.
Mhm.
It's a value, because where we place our value is where we're going to show up. So it's value placement of why they're exhausted, but that's normal because they've been doing it their whole life.
Does anyone feel seen?
Seen.
Does anyone feel seen? I feel like you're in my brain, Ursula. That's proving, right? All of this that we've had to do. All right. So that leads us into one of the phrases that I loved in this article was the idea of the subconscious mind operating like an internal operating system. And most leaders spend a lot of time working on external systems, right? Strategy, process, performance, communication, hiring, revenue, culture. But your work points us towards an internal system. So the next question I want to lead into is the article specifically names these internal systems as things that would show up as fear of failure, fear of rejection, perfectionism, people pleasing. I see some nods. Okay. Never. Burnout, anxiety, and emotional disconnection. These are all patterns that can originate from subconscious survival mechanisms rather than our conscious choice. Right? Nobody ever gets up in the morning and says, I want to be a perfectionist today. How do those old internal patterns begin driving our behavior in the present day leadership situations?
So if you think about when you were a kid and think about how your parents spoke to you, and mind you, it's not their fault, right? They're doing better than they got it.
Mm-hmm.
Every generation, you want your child to be happier. You want them to feel safer in the world. You ask any parent, what do you want from your child? Over health is happiness. So we're seeing a lot on social media these days about happiness and how to get happiness. And here's 10 ways to get the dopamine hit. And, and you're like, oh, there's so many things coming at us. But really, it's the hard drive. If you think of a computer context, we're all operating in the hard drive, these belief systems that we've received, not good enough, don't disappoint your parents, be a good girl, be a good boy, suck it up, buttercup, right? These are the things running in our hard drive. So we're like, trying to implement, like, be executive, be the perfect parent, be the perfect neighbor, be the perfect health person, eat the exact right food. We're like, okay. We get overwhelmed and we never look back there. So that stuff's driving and pushing, almost yelling in our head. So we're like, oh, this is too noisy back here. Let me turn up the volume. Let me turn up the pressure. Let me run anxiety as a program. So when we're having all these things, that list of, burnout and all the things, and we're like, just keep pushing. Today's another day. You're going to do better. Because when someone's like, I got to do better, it means you suck. so there's someone back here going like this, and you're like, okay, watch, I'm going to prove you wrong. Instead, so in the internal family systems work, in the subconscious work, we go and we're like, hey, come here, I want to talk to you. So instead of all the voices running in our head and then us being like the listener trying to keep it together, in the subconscious, when we can calm down enough, we bring them, not all at the same time, but one at a time. So the ones like the one who's burnt out. So there's usually two. One of us is burnt out and the other one is the pusher. Mm-hmm. So the burnt out one is like, oh, I'm having to take medicine to go to sleep. I'm doing this and I'm pushing, adrenals burnt out, because women are trying to do men's work and we're not designed to work like a man. Men have 13 times more testosterone than women do, but women are like push, so they burn their adrenals out. And the women in the workplace who have climbed, it's like they've had to take the stairway instead of the elevator to get into some of their positions. So they're running on adrenal burnout. So you see, there's a cost. So when we can go in and we can say, okay, who's burnt out and then who's the pusher, we can have an inner dialogue and understand our what's driving us. And we don't realize that we're in the middle, like watching all of the thoughts and feelings coming through, but we have a voice. So then we can have our own voice and say, okay, quiet down there, peanut gallery, the ones who are driving the show, because they're just the loudest one on the microphone in our head. They're not necessarily the most powerful one.
Yes, and I think understanding that voice is not really you. It's this subconscious, program that is running in your mind that gives you, oh, I do have a choice and I can do something about it. So, we're not always responding to the person in front of us. We're always bringing this with us, right? So, looking at something that we're talking about today, how do these internal patterns affect what is expected of leaders in areas like communication, delegation, decision-making, and trust?
Okay, great. So when you're having a conversation with a colleague, a competitor, a manager, somebody else, you're having more conversations with yourself and all these parts of us before you even start talking to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll ask you a question, but it might trigger something else going on here. So you're answering that question from that conversation. So when we can kind of get everybody to calm down within ourselves, we can be more fully present with a whole other person who has an entire other system that you have no idea. So when we talk about compassion, people in the healthcare system here, some very kind, loving people, they're able to say, okay, you're not important right now. Somebody else is more important than all these voices. Let me be fully present with you and your system, and let me understand where you're coming from. So we all have stories beyond. Like, we could cry if we stood and really told each other the suffering that we've lived through already, but we continue to show up. Mm-hmm. So if we can say, well, I've got a load of stories back here, I bet everybody else does too. Why don't I show up kind to myself so I can be kind to the person in front of me? Now I can actually hear what they're trying to communicate to me, and I can solve a problem rather than have all this rattling going on and thinking, thanks for triggering me right now.
All right. So I want to bring this into something that leaders really care deeply about and is very critical, and that is trust. Because trust is one of those words that we talk about all the time in organizations, but we don't always talk about what makes trust possible inside the leader first. So the next question, we hear the phrase internal regulation more and more. We're hearing that a lot more now, especially with everything going on in the world. So the article says your work focuses on helping people regulate their nervous systems, reconnect with emotional clarity, improve communication, and strengthen relationships. What is the connection between internal regulation and the ability to build trust?
That's a huge core issue. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't trust ourselves, we're not going to trust anybody else. It's like love when we're in relationships. If I love myself only this much, then my capacity to love anybody else is only this much. My capacity to receive love can only be this much. So you may have a partner or somebody in your family who just adores you, and you're like, yeah, I'm not really good enough. Like, why do you keep loving me so much? And you just push them away, and you just discount their flood of love towards you. Not good enough. So with trust, it's very similar. So we in that pinnacle up here, we've had to fight our way to get to the top. And we get burnt along the way. Never again, never again, never again. I'm not going to trust anybody. I'm not going to rely on anybody. Because if I have to get up and do the thing for the company and somebody lets me down, they're going to see that I look bad. They're not going to see that this person let me down. So forget these people. I'm just going to do it. So then we do, and we don't trust anybody. We don't build trust with anybody because we've been screwed 5 different times before the age of 19. So we're like, never again, never again. So we can't build trust. But what happens is when we're up here under all this pressure, you have to have teams. But if you don't trust anybody, then you're not really a team player. You're only a leader. And this is where that burnout happens. When we can have trust enough, and trust comes from communication. So if I'm not communicating with myself, to trust myself, to do a good job, to be sincere, to take care of myself, to do the things that trust is, like just to be vulnerable with my own self, then I'm never going to give anybody else a chance. So that's why people don't trust. So when the management teams are trying to communicate with the executives, the executives just hear this nagging voice instead of the real communication, because they don't really trust that the management has their back. They always are hearing the complaints that the management is like trying to talk about all of the company and the employees. And then they're like this saying, we need to fix this problem. And the executives are, you're the manager, you fix it. So there's a whole disconnect. And the underlying problem is trust, because they're not trusting themselves enough to trust other people. You can't hear and you can't communicate without trust.
And we've all had those situations where someone is just so hyper independent because they haven't been able to trust people in the past. Just let me do it myself, right? We've had those type of situations. So you talk a lot about the difference between the root pattern and the symptom. This is what you're famous for, the root, right? It's why we get along so well. So what does it mean to address the root pattern rather than simply managing the system?
Okay, so what are the problems in life? It's usually the other people, right? So so name some problems that we have to deal with on the day-to-day. Taking care of family members, responsibility, like Katie was just saying. Yeah.
Taking care of yourself.
Taking care of our health. Money, worrying about money, managing money. Just time management, all of those things, right? Stress, deadlines, things like this. So if you look at the problems up here, you're like, oh, we're focusing and all of these external problems or pressure. And then when you start looking at the hard drive, like I said, the conversations, say the money thing, like, oh, how am I going to manage this? The retirement that we were just talking about. I'm aged, I don't have enough money, rah, rah, stress. Those problems all activate pressure, create like this activation of our issues. Because you and I could be facing the same problem, but because I have a skill set on that problem, it's not a problem for me. But for you, it'd be a big problem. So it's not really the problems that are causing difficulty for us. It's our response to the problems. So when I talk about the root thing, the response is our triggers, how we are listening and hearing and receiving this pressure. So if we've cleared that area of our life, it's not a problem. So people can go like the emergency responders. They can go in and no problem, blood squirting out. Oh, no problem, I got this, because they have a skill set. But a normal person, we'd be like, holy smokes, I can't even breathe right now. So it's that ability to respond to the problem based on the training or our triggers or our capacity to deal. So if we're so busy with, with a lot of stress here, we have a very narrow margin of capacity, and that's why we, can't listen to our teenagers and don't get along and have a very short fuse. That's why we drink, and that's why we take the pills, because our capacity to deal with life, because life is a lot of problems, and we navigate through them looking for solutions, trying to find peace and calmness, and it's really the noise going on in the back of our head.
Yeah, it can be really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Just so much.
Yeah.
So much. So your work asks this deeper question. What is driving the pattern underneath it? So my question to you is, what changes when a leader stops trying to override the pattern and begins recalibrating it?
That's when we start inviting the parts and look. So what we can do is say, who's talking now? So we can slow it all down. So in the morning, if you can spend some time with yourself, even before coffee, because coffee is an activator and it gets everything going. So it's like, ego, come on, ego, let's get started. Come on, I'm going to run the day raw. So before coffee, when you're just your own little messy hair self, and you're like, hi, good morning. How am I feeling? What do I want today? What do I need today? Who am I? How am I going to show up today for myself? Because our relationship with ourselves is the first one. So when we can be nice to ourselves first thing in the morning and kind of fill our cup that way. So we've got something to give, because we talked about fumes. So if we can fill our cup in the morning and say, okay, I'm important, I'm lovable, I'm a good person, it's okay if I make some mistakes, and now go out into the world, we're going to be a better person and we're going to have a better day.
So fill our cup before we go to the coffee maker. All right, that's what I'm hearing. All right. Yeah.
I saw that.
Listening. Okay. So one thing I took away from the article, and I'll speak directly to those with us today, anyone who has had a conversation with you, Ursula, knows how deeply you help people feel understood. The article made the point that people do not simply learn from you, they feel understood by you. And that's truly one of your gifts. And I think it matters because transformation rarely happens through information alone. So you talk about emotional safety, and that's what you provide to people as a condition for transformation. What does emotional safety mean for us in a leadership context?
That's another great question, because you understand. So I just want to pause here to let everybody know that Lisa is an amazing person. You have a depth. You have a depth of heart and soul. And when you set these questions up, you just thought so deeply because you wanted to bring so much value to your listener. So I just adore you, and I honor you and respect you, and your wisdom is just fantastic. And thank you for being my friend, and thank you for being up here with me. So back to the question, emotional safety is because if somebody knows themselves and they feel safe, because if these voices aren't like, you don't make a mistake, there's too many things at stake. So there's just all this nervousness and hyperness, like that duck. So when we're in a place of like, you know what, I love myself. It's okay if I make mistakes. It's okay if I misspeak. It's okay if I'm a little late. It's okay. It's okay. Because when we think of long term, we're here for life. No one cares. Nobody cares, really. No one's judging. Everybody's judging, but it doesn't matter. So when I'm emotionally safe, I can show myself and create a field of emotional safety, a field of acceptance. And then somebody else can come in and be like, oh, they're not judging me harshly. Oh, I'm not going to be fired because I say the wrong thing. Oh, I can be relaxed and be human in front of this person. That's emotional safety. So when we're in executive situations and everything's all buttoned up and, don't show anything but your game face and all of that stuff, and somebody's having a major crisis at home and they come to you shaking with a report, you can be like, are you okay? Because this is the human part of life. We've been conditioned too much around the programming of perfectionism. That's not real. And that's why we're so upset, because we know we're not living authentically. So when we can calm down and be human again, now we're living. Now the days aren't racing by and we're like, oh my God, how did I get to be this age? Because every day is more fulfilling and it matters. We can matter. And then if I know I matter in the world, in my own little world, I don't have to be famous or do anything. I can look in the mirror and say, I love you. And that's enough. Now you've got plenty to give for the rest of the day. So that emotional safety is a part of what we can bring as far as quality to other people in all of our relationships.
You know, what I hear in that is the importance of presence. And one thing that, let's see if I can get this right. Today is the tomorrow we wished for yesterday. Today is the tomorrow we wished for yesterday. And when we get to that day, we forget it, right? Because this was what we wanted, but now we've got another tomorrow ahead of us, right? So I think leaders who, you know what, I'm going to jump to this next one. What does it look like to pause long enough to choose from awareness instead of reaction?
Awesome. So that walker versus the runner. The walker is going to notice more things. So the runner's running. They're focused on goals and achievements and accomplishments, where the walker is like, what's going on? So during the Kettering Crusher, the organization had cheerleaders, every, 100 meters. And it's good when you're running because you're pushing against nature, right? To run. Why do we run in the like, because something's chasing us, right? So it's all these words and feelings and things chasing, like, go, you gotta win. You're nobody unless you're winning. You're like, yeah. And your heart's like, what are you doing? So they need cheerleaders, they go, keep going, you got this. But as we're walking, they were like, you got this. And you're like, can you calm down? I know I got this. You're interrupting our meaningful conversation. So it's like when we're going through life with ease as a walker and not pressured, we can be more present. And we know what's natural and what's not natural.
So when we pause, how long does that pause need to be? Like, do I need to schedule it in my calendar?
Yeah, no, you need to this is why meditation, this is why nature time, this is why proper sleep, this is why eating healthy all counts, because it gives us the capacity. All this stuff here is default. So I'll just walk up to someone and they'll be like, hey, where's the thing? The report of the whatever. There'll be a demand. So default will come in and be defensive and, be correct and just, and then so we're like, hold on, everybody. Shh. So in our head, we're like, shh. And then we'll say, okay, now we're going to come from a different point of view. This person's trying to say something. What are they actually communicating? Let me hear it. Let me receive it. So we need to just slow the runner down to become a walker in that moment, to tell the crowd back here, just be quiet, default responses. Let me focus and let me really hear, what is this person saying to me? It's just the awareness, moving from that reaction into an awareness of, hold on, let me put all these voices quiet and let me be fully present as much as I can and see what the engagement is requiring of me.
All right. So when we're talking about all of this, I think of emotional intelligence, right? And emotional intelligence has been around for quite a while. So when the pressure gets high, we know about emotional intelligence, but leaders default back, right, to this control and urgency, avoidance, defensiveness, or overfunctioning. So how do you see emotional intelligence becoming as important as strategic intelligence for the future of leadership?
This goes back to the Don Barden's work. Were you here when Don Barden came to speak? Here Come the Girls. So he's an economic major and he a professor and PhD. And he was curious and he did some data research. So women will be in global leadership by 2028 at 57%. Global for me is a key word there because that means third world countries will have more of a balance. Women are mothers. Even if we haven't had children, we are mothers. We are wired. Mothers have the capacity to care about everything that's going on and the safety of others, where men are hunters and thousands of years. We only think of today, but if you think of ourselves in an anthropological way, the timeline, men go out and do the thing, and they need to be single focused. So when men are making decisions, they're making a decision from single focus. When women are making a decision, they're making a decisions for everybody. It is healthier for the community for people to be making decisions for everybody. So we're moving from a patriarch system, this is the top and these are all the workers, into a voice at the table. Everybody's voice is heard. So it's more balanced, it's more community. So when you talk about emotional intelligence, that is a knowingness of what's happening for everybody. So it's an ability to read the room. So somebody who is neurodiverse, they might not be able to, read cues. So they'll say inappropriate things, or they'll talk too long, or, they'll stand too close. Or an emotional intelligence is somebody who's like, oh, that person is leading the talk today, or, oh, this person's very shy, or, oh, this person looks like they're nervous. Oh, this person needs somebody, so we can kind of read the room. So women are wired that way. We're intuitively kind of open and programmed, and is everybody okay? So as a youth minister, all kids are my kids. So as soon as I come into a space and there's children, I'm like, you okay? You good? What do you need? I'm tracking. So we do that kind of naturally as women. So now that women are moving more into leadership, men are going to be responding to them because we're like, okay, I got to do this thing. And men are going to naturally be like, okay, what do you need? Because that single focus, you're in leadership. How can I support you? So they're also going to start dialing into more emotional intelligence and cueing in instead of like going gangbuster and like, who do I need to kill today? As far as food, they'll be going in and be like, okay, how do I support community? Because when mother is in leadership, she's going to lead a different way, and that's going to be more emotionally intelligently led. So our systems are changing and we're all adapting. And the thing about change, as you know, as many of us has gone through so many changes, it's adaptability. So it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the quickest to adapt.
All right. So I know our time is drawing close here, but if someone wants to follow up with you or learn more about your work, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Just reach out. You're all on me with connected to me with LinkedIn. My website is my name. I keep things simple with my life as much as possible. So it's just ursulalentini.com. There's a 20-minute connection call that anybody can have to just, tell me what's going on and how I can help you or navigate through a problem. And I do have programs coming up all the time. So they can just look on my website and see what I've got going on.
We're not going to let you go without getting some of your goodness. So the final thought, what final thought do you want to leave us with today?
That the relationship with ourselves is the most important relationship that we have. Remember that capacity to love. So the capacity to connect, the capacity to give, to share. We all have so much knowledge and so much power and intelligence. And if we felt safe enough to really share that, the world would be a better place. But the world can't be a better place unless we start showing up for ourselves and really be kind. If there's one thing I could say, be kind to yourself. Don't let all of that default run the show, because it's not in your favor. It's a belief that's not even true. It's an idea that got activated somehow. Generational, usually. It's not even your fault that you're mean to yourself. So take authority and say, you know what, I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to be forgiving to myself. I'm going to be accepting of who I am. And then when we're kinder to ourselves, we're naturally going to be kinder to other people. And then we give permission to just be human, because guess what? That's what we already are.
We are. And thank you for giving us permission. Thank you for being with us today. I'm going to be a Delta flight attendant. Thank you. We know you had other places to be, right? So thank you for being with us today. Yeah.
Okay, finish up, but I did want to just say this is what Kettering's all about, right? Being prepared for what's coming up next in the world. It's not just knowing what's happening with fintech and AI and the Department of Transportation, great presentation. This is kind of knowing what we need to be doing with ourselves. So this is a great talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And again, they're Kettering members. These aren't people pulled from outside. These are right here. These are your second call. We have plenty of people here, and 350 members and 1,500 alumni. So lots of help out there, whatever it may be. On behalf of Kettering, thank you so much for speaking. This is just a little gift, a token of appreciation. Thank you so much. One more time for Lisa. 230 podcasts, over 230 podcasts now, right? It's out there. Where can they get your
Podcast, I do have a YouTube channel. Actually, we're going to put up, there's our slide right there. I have a YouTube channel. I am Lisa McGuire. And then on every podcast player, Spotify, Apple Podcast, I can't remember, 170 countries listen. It's been exciting to see this journey, but thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. And Dr. Ursula Lentini is ursulalentini.com. Okay, so lots out there for you. All right, with that, big weekend. Anybody got big plans? Be fun.